An anime begins with Kajino, a useless introvert boy in school who is ignored by everyone. But at night, he secretly becomes a so-called hero, helping people in the shadows even though he has no real power. He can handle small-time thugs easily, but deep down he is still just an ordinary human. One night, everything changes when he suddenly gets killed. After dying, he gets transported into another world, and the moment he arrives, his fate completely changes. Now he possesses the most dangerous abilities in existence, and he is reborn as a shadow god who can erase entire worlds with just a single gesture. Heroes and warriors from all over the world come to kill him, but he keeps escaping death like it's nothing. From his old life, he always believed he could handle small fights, but anything like an army or an atomic bomb would have made him completely helpless. But in this new world, everything flips. He becomes a walking nuclear weapon, controlling everything from the shadows, while no one even realizes he exists. An anime begins with Kajino, who in school life looked completely useless, a nobody, the kind of person everyone ignores like background noise, just like someone people don't even notice when they pass by. No friends, no attention, just living inside his own silent world. While in the same class, there was a girl named Nishino, a famous and perfect heroine admired by everyone, not just in school but across the entire world. But behind that perfect image, she was deeply broken because she had been kidnapped in her childhood, and ever since then she had been living with trauma and depression, acting like everything was fine while inside she was completely shattered. Yet strangely, Kajino never showed any interest in her at all, ignoring her completely even though he had been sitting near her for months, not even remembering her name properly, and calling her by random strange names, which made her frustrated because he was the only person in the class who treated her like she didn't exist. And one night everything changed when Nishino's driver was killed by some thugs, forcing her to walk home alone for the first time in her life. But before she could reach safely, she got kidnapped by a group of criminals who took her to a dark and isolated mansion with the intention of demanding ransom from her family. But one of them lost control and tried to assault her, triggering her painful childhood memories of being kidnapped again, and this time she felt completely helpless, breaking down in tears as she lost all hope, until suddenly the roof exploded and a boy dropped down from above, and that boy was Kajino, the same silent classmate who had always lived like a background character. And without hesitation, he attacked the gang members, injuring one of them with a blade and throwing him aside. But one of the criminals turned out to be a former American military captain, experienced in real combat, and at first he completely overpowered Kajino using his battle skills. But Kajino slowly adapted, and in the end, he pulled out a crowbar and brutally defeated him in a savage counterattack, leaving all the criminals tied up before disappearing from the scene. And later, when police and Nishino's powerful parents arrived, the entire incident was quietly covered up, while Nishino returned to school the next day and finally realized that Kajino was the one who had saved her when she heard him properly say her name. And at the same time, Kajino's past was revealed, showing that he had always dreamed of becoming a hero and had trained himself in multiple martial arts like karate, boxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, and many others. But despite all of that, he understood one harsh truth, that even with all his training, he was still just a human, maybe strong enough to beat a few people, but completely powerless against armies or something like a nuclear explosion. And that painful realization drove him almost insane, to the point where he even hit his own head against a rock and ran like a madman until a truck suddenly hit him and ended his life. But instead of ending everything, that death became his rebirth into another world, where he created an organization dedicated to eliminating evil, forming a powerful group of girls with magical abilities who secretly controlled the balance of the world, erasing evil before it could even rise, while Kajeno himself possessed dark magic that made him the most dangerous existence alive. Yet no one ever noticed him because he stayed in the shadows while controlling everything from behind, and he made a silent vow to keep peace in the world, not as a hero but as an unseen force, calling himself something like emptiness and shadow, refusing the role of a main character and choosing to remain a hidden ruler. And then the story moves back to his past reincarnation, where he grew up with his elder sister, slowly realizing that magic actually existed in this world. And even though his sister was stronger than him on the surface, the truth was that Kajino held far greater power and could defeat her instantly if he wanted, but he deliberately acted weak, pretending to be a background character because his dream was not to shine but to stay invisible. And at night, he secretly became Shadow, hunting criminals and destroying them without mercy. And during one of his missions, he found a strange monster and brought it home, experimenting on it with dark magic for days until the curse inside it finally broke and an elf girl was released. And while joking in his twisted humor, he even compared her situation to some strange premium survival subscription, then calmly told her about a secret cult called Diabolos that was experimenting on her to awaken a demon lord. And even though this entire story was something he completely made up in his mind, surprisingly, everything turned out to be true, and he named her Alpha and immediately made her the first member of his newly created Shadow Garden organization, which ironically he had just pretended to form moments ago. And as years passed, both Alpha and Cadeno grew stronger, recruiting more girls with special abilities to fight against the cult of Diabolos, while his sister grew up and got kidnapped again just before entering Magic Academy, forcing Kagino and his team to launch a rescue mission after discovering the cult's involvement. And even though Kagino accidentally marked the wrong location on a map, pure fate led them directly to the secret hideout, where his sister was being held captive and tortured by cult members. And just when things got intense, Shadow Garden arrived and eliminated enemies one by one with overwhelming power, forcing the remaining enemies to panic and transform into monsters using magic pills. But Kagino himself, still lost and wandering separately, accidentally encountered one of the mutated enemies who attacked him. But that man was no ordinary fighter, having military-level experience. Yet even that was not enough, because in the end, Kagino unleashed his purple dark energy and erased him instantly, completing his mission silently before leaving the battlefield, while Shadow Garden confirmed multiple cult bases exist worldwide and went separate ways to destroy them. And later, Kagino enrolled himself into a prestigious academy filled with powerful noble students, but his only goal was not to become strong or famous, but to remain the ultimate background character, acting useless and ignored while secretly observing everything. And even there, he found two equally strange students to maintain his useless character image, making a ridiculous bet where the loser would have to confess to the most popular girl in school, a girl so feared that half the school admired her while the other half was terrified of her presence. And Kagino intentionally failed his own test just to guarantee humiliation, fully prepared to be rejected in front of everyone as part of his plan. But the unexpected happened when, instead of rejecting him, the princess actually accepted his confession, breaking his entire expectation in a single moment and turning his planned background role into something completely unpredictable, leaving him frozen in a situation he never wanted but somehow couldn't escape. The story reaches a point where chaos slowly starts turning into something far more twisted than anyone could understand. And even the idea of normal life feels like a joke, because everything changes the moment Alexia accepts Kagino's confession. And in that instant, the entire direction of his so-called background character training gets completely destroyed, as if fate itself laughed at his plan, and suddenly he is forced into a fake relationship with her, even though that was never part of his intention. But now there is no escape, so he has no choice but to play along. And what starts as an unwanted situation slowly turns into daily life, where they spend time together, eating lunch side by side, training together, and even walking around the city like an actual couple. And this strange sight becomes unbearable for everyone around them, especially their classmates who watch Kagino, a boy who looks completely ordinary and even ugly in their eyes, somehow standing beside a princess like Alexia, and jealousy burns in their hearts like fire. While later the truth is revealed that Alexia only agreed to this fake relationship because she is already engaged to a man named Genos, a teacher who is said to be even more unattractive than Kagino. And Alexia is not happy with this engagement at all because she is the second princess of the kingdom, strong in sword fighting and extremely skilled, yet trapped in a political marriage she hates. So she decides to use Kagino as a tool to provoke jealousy in her fiancé, while Genos watches everything silently, even though inside he is clearly burning with anger. And later that evening, when Kagino and Alexia are alone, she openly admits that this relationship is nothing but a contract, and she knows very well that both of them are using each other. But Kagino suddenly refuses to continue, only for Alexia to throw a coin toward him. And in that strange moment, Kagino instantly changes, becoming completely obedient like a loyal dog just for a small price. And from that point on, he agrees to act as her fake boyfriend every single day, while her fiancé's jealousy grows darker and more dangerous. And during their outings, Alexia reveals her inner pain, saying that her engagement partner looks perfect on the surface, but something about him feels deeply wrong, as if he is either a liar or a psychopath hiding behind a perfect face. And on the way back home in a train, she admits her insecurity, comparing herself to her elder sister Iris, who is far stronger and more talented than her. And Kagino tries to comfort her by saying her sword style may be simple, but it still has beauty, and she will improve with time. But those words accidentally trigger something deep inside her, because they are the exact same words her sister once said after defeating her, and in a flash of anger she draws her sword at Kagino, but he remains completely unaffected, almost bored, which only frustrates her more, and she leaves in anger, ending their fake relationship on that note. And the next day at school, Kagino is seen with his useless and lazy friends again, acting like nothing matters. But suddenly, Alexia's fiancé Janon arrives with soldiers and accuses Kagino of kidnapping Alexia because she has gone missing. And since Kagino was the last person seen with her, all suspicion falls on him, so he calmly surrenders without resistance. While on the other side of the world, a mad scientist from the cult of Diabolos has actually kidnapped Alexia and is using her royal blood for experiments meant to revive the Demon King in the modern world, and in the shadows of that laboratory, a terrifying failed experiment screams in pain, a monster born from earlier research, while Alexia is slowly drained of blood day after day, growing weaker and weaker, trapped and helpless. And at the same time, Kagino is also being tortured by soldiers, his face destroyed and body beaten until he looks completely broken. Yet inside he feels something strange, almost satisfaction, as if even this suffering fits his dream of becoming a background character. And after days of humiliation, he is kicked out like garbage and followed by spies. And when he finally returns home, Alpha is waiting in the darkness, giving him a serious report that Alexia has been kidnapped and the entire kingdom is on the edge of chaos, while Shadow Garden is fully armed and ready to respond, preparing for war against the cult of Diabolos. And Kagino also prepares himself, building his underground base using Alexia's money and gathering his own strength. And later that night, when he walks through the city to observe the situation, he unexpectedly encounters the same soldiers who once tortured him, and they attack him again thinking he is still weak. But this time, Kagino is different, fully serious, and he chases them down and beats them brutally, erasing every bit of their confidence. While in another place, Alexia's suffering reaches its peak as the mad scientist injects royal blood into a dying man, turning him into a monstrous creature that instantly kills the scientist and frees Alexia from chains. But the creature goes out of control and starts destroying the kingdom, forcing Alexia to run for her life. And at that moment, Jinan appears again, revealing the darkest truth that he himself is a member of the cult of Diabolos, and the entire kidnapping was his plan. And Alexia's world collapses as she realizes everything was betrayal from the very beginning. And even though she tries to fight him, her attack barely scratches him, leaving her completely helpless as her sword falls and she is thrown down. And just when everything feels lost, the atmosphere suddenly freezes as a dark presence steps into the battlefield. The Shadow King Kagino arrives, and neither Jinan nor Alexia realize the truth that the person standing before them is the real shadow behind everything. And the moment Jinan attacks him, Kagino's speed makes the strike meaningless. While elsewhere, the monster continues to destroy the kingdom until Princess Iris arrives and slices through its body with her magic sword. Yet even after being destroyed, it regenerates instantly until Alpha arrives and releases a devastating blue energy blast that finally erases the monster into dust. And after clearing the battlefield, Shadow Garden evacuates the kingdom, leaving only cult members behind, while Jinan again attacks Kagino with full dark energy. And Alexia notices something terrifyingly familiar in Kagino's sword style, the same style she always considered weak and outdated, the same style she was mocked for, but now in Kagino's hands it becomes flawless and deadly. And Jinan, losing control, consumes red pills and transforms into a monstrous demon, releasing an enormous dark blast that fills the battlefield. But Kagino remains completely calm, unaffected, and with a single kick he throws him down effortlessly, then expands his magic into a massive barrier that engulfs the entire area, shocking Jinan beyond belief, as he realizes this level of power should not even exist in a human, while Kagino stands silently and says in a calm voice that in his previous life he once believed something simple about himself. The moment Kagino's attack finally settles, everything feels like a heavy silence after destruction, and his words about becoming something stronger than even a nuclear bomb echo in the air, as if he had already crossed the limit of what a human should ever become, saying that if a nuclear bomb ever fell on him, he would simply become something equal or even greater than it. And over time, he trained his magic so deeply that he stopped seeing himself as human at all, and instead accepted the idea of becoming a living nuclear force, while the entire Shadow Garden team watched this terrifying level of destruction unfold from a distance, completely stunned by the scale of what they were witnessing. And when the explosion finally fades away, a massive crater is left behind as proof that everything inside that area has been wiped out, including all members of the cult of Diabolos who were present there, leaving nothing but silence and dust. And Alexia stands frozen in shock as she tries to process what she just saw. But before she can even fully react, her elder sister Iris suddenly arrives and hugs her tightly, relieved to see her alive and safe. And for the first time in a long while, there is a moment of emotional relief in this chaotic world. But peace never lasts for long, because the next day, Shadow Garden holds a secret meeting where they discover multiple new hideouts of the cult of Diabolos scattered across different locations. And at the same time, they learn something even worse, that certain criminals are now using the name of Shadow Garden itself to commit crimes and destroy their reputation, forcing them to take a harsh decision called Death of Judgment to eliminate those fake imposters. While on the surface, Kagino walks into school acting completely normal as if nothing happened, even though just before this he had been rejected by Alexia after she suddenly confessed her feelings. A rejection that turned into a strange physical confrontation where she lost control and even injured him badly out of frustration and ego. Yet Kagino simply treated it like part of his role as a background character, and in this wounded state he accidentally meets another girl, and despite his terrifying appearance and injuries, they strangely form a quick connection, as if destiny is playing another strange trick on him, while his so-called useless friends begin their ridiculous plan to impress girls using cheap chocolates, believing that such a simple trick will make girls fall for them, not realizing how foolish they look, and they even create an absurd strategy thinking that chocolate alone will make any girl melt and fall in love, so they head straight to an expensive chocolate store, where unexpectedly the manager turns out to be Gamma from Shadow Garden, a member who once built a massive business empire worth billions using Kagino's casual idea about chocolates. And inside the store, instead of a normal shop, they find a royal-like setup where Shadow Garden members are gathered, waiting as if Kagino is some kind of hidden godfather figure. And Gamma reports that fake criminals are still damaging their reputation across the kingdom, while also introducing a new member named Nu, who will assist Kagino in future missions. But even in this serious moment, Kagino casually steals a gold coin from their treasury without anyone noticing, showing his strange mix of seriousness and absurd behavior. And later, while walking home, he suddenly feels something is wrong, and his instincts kick in, forcing him to stop and hold his stomach as if something unbearable is happening. And with a trembling voice, he excuses himself, saying he cannot hold it anymore and must go somewhere urgently, leaving his friends emotionally devastated as they believe he is suffering from something serious and painful. And in a dramatic emotional misunderstanding, they promise to keep his secret and watch him leave alone into the dark alley, thinking he is going through unbearable pain, while in reality it was just another calculated move by Kagino to escape them. And once alone, he immediately moves onto a rooftop where Alexia is fighting fake Shadow Garden imposters. And just as one of them is about to kill her, Kagino appears at lightning speed and saves her, while Nu also arrives and effortlessly eliminates the remaining enemies without even breaking a sweat. And the next day, Alexia tries desperately to explain everything to her elder sister, but her sister refuses to listen and declares that both Shadow Garden and Cult of Diabolos are enemies of the kingdom, while Kagino casually rides a train in his usual relaxed style, unaware that the two friends who once swore secrecy have already revealed everything about his so-called hidden alley incident, creating unnecessary chaos in the city. And meanwhile, one of his friends tries to gift chocolate to a girl, only to get violently beaten by her boyfriend, while another character named Cheery appears, a research expert working under Alexia's sister to decode a mysterious artifact found after Kagino's earlier atomic-level explosion. And Kagino casually hands over chocolates to her before leaving, not knowing that this small action will later cause her to fall deeply into emotional attachment toward him. And slowly, Kagino becomes the center of strange attention from girls, while his life remains full of hidden chaos.